Well, hasn't this week been eventful? There's so much happened. But Russell finally broke his silence. They say that silence is golden, but only for so long. You're on the edge of your seat, aren't you, waiting for him to say something to the world, and he finally did. And there was no apologies required because no charges have been brought against him. And quite right. Why would you? Why would you have to make an apology if you've not been charged with anything? And you can clearly see, and everyone else is starting to see, that this is a coordinated attack to shut him up. So it is going to be YouTube's loss. Is it going to affect YouTube, the fact that Russell will not be on their channel anymore? Well, to agree, yes. You have to say yes, because if he's going to drag 6.6 million that he previously had on YouTube, he's going to drag them all over, even though on Rumble he's into the millions now as well, but not as high as he was on YouTube. That needs to be said. If he drags them over, do you think they're likely to want to go back to a station that was persecuting him? Well, they're not. So if they leave YouTube, they're likely not to want to ever sign up for it again and have a channel on YouTube. I think that's a natural consequence of somebody shutting down a truth speaker, someone that was only ever interested in just alerting people to the hypocrisy of it all. Now, he does touch on a few subjects in which we've all been thinking about, and that is about the illegal wars, and he goes into that, I should imagine, on Monday, about the money laundering that always takes place during these wars. And I think of Vietnam, I think of Afghanistan, I think of many, many occasions where there's been American involvement, and you have to ask yourself, well, what was the reason for them being there in the first place? So I think he makes a good point in dedicating some time to these illegal wars and money laundering. But my biggest worry right now is the fact that we were warned on two occasions by two people that have no longer with us. They've both been silenced for a reason. The first one is the director, David Crowley, who warned us that we would start with tyranny, we'd go into tyranny, and that would eventually evolve into martial law. Can you see this happening now? Are you seeing the early signs of it? Are you seeing any similarities between what's happening at the moment, which is likely to increase in magnitude? It's going to get a lot worse. The shutting down of people's freedoms, the monitoring of people that say things against the establishment. Yes, they'll be monitored. They'll be keeping a beady eye on them. That's an absolute fact. But can you see the similarities between what's happening now and what happened in Germany? There is a definite similarity. That's where it starts. Tyranny starts to rise. And then when people push back against tyranny, then what happens? There's a sort of martial law enforcement where the military are in control of everything, and you have no rights then. So I think that David Crowley, the director of Grey State, gave us a warning, and I think he was correct to give us that warning. I think that we will go into more difficult times, starting with tyranny. Now, someone else that tried to give us a warning was the United Nations geologist Phil Snyder, who has since been removed for the things that he said. He went one step farther than David Crowley. He spoke about how he had involvement in FEMA camps, underground FEMA camps, of which there are hundreds and hundreds that have been built. They haven't been built for nothing, these underground FEMA camps. They are there for a purpose. It's just that that purpose is not yet ready. But when it is ready, then it starts with tyranny, and it starts with martial law, and then it starts with what I'm not going to say. I'm too scared to say it. But I want you to look at the similarity between what is happening at the moment and what happened with the rise of the German war machine. Very similar, but not surprising, because the World Economic Forum do have probably admirers of past German traditions. I don't want to say who they are. You know who they are. So Russell is going to be Russell Rumble brand exclusive to the Rumble's platform, and he's definitely going to spearhead, I think, a new movement, because he's going to take all his awakening wonders and he's going to keep them away, most probably, from YouTube. They'll probably stay away from it out of respect, I would have thought, because they'll be thinking, well, you'd be treating our Russell like this. I don't want to be part of it either. So I think YouTube will suffer in the long run. Yes, they're a huge organization, and they can probably stand to lose millions and millions in revenue. But it's whether other established YouTube truth seekers decide that they want to leave as well. And if we get like a mass exodus of like-minded individuals that are only ever interested in people knowing the truth, then this is going to hugely damage YouTube. And it needs to be said. So I think what they've done is probably the wrong thing. I think it's going to damage them, maybe to the point where they won't be the biggest video platform out there. They will probably have to drop into, say, third place. So the fact that Russell is a Rumble boy would greatly increase their revenue, make them near the top, because they're not there now, are they? Because you compare the millions he's got on Rumble to the 6.6 on YouTube, then obviously there's a gap between the two. But this is going to go a long way to bridging that gap and making Rumble perhaps the number one choice for truth-seeking individuals. I don't know what you think about that, peeps. But on Monday, I think you'll probably have the greatest audience ever. That's what I can envision.